We have a very interesting question from our Christian friend who's making Christian RPG board games. He says, just had a thought. Do you think there could be any correlation to the Watchers who were bound in the earth? They wouldn't have access to see the world. It's a
Mhm.
very interesting question. Because we know
Yeah,
in Enoch
yeah, and
and
Enoch, they
what
are
with
bound.
Peter explaining that they're in Tartarus, they're in prison
Yeah,
until their judgment, their damnation comes.
yeah. I remember Tom Horn looking into this. The late Tom Horn, he passed away not long ago, but he had mentioned he had done a calculation looking into the book of Enoch and that prophecy when Yahweh is condemning them and saying that they're going to be bound uh, under the earth, which is interesting that you would bring that up, I think. But that according to Tom Horn, that he had done a calculation and they were supposed to be unbound more in our day, according to the timeline and everything that he had looked into. But he could have been off as well, and again, it's interesting because could they be the Watchers? Could they be angelic beings? I don't know. I mean, it's a tough one. It's a tough question. Um, I personally, I think not. Um, for the reason that also, if we consider the Admiral Byrd story, they're not giants. So I I tend to think more that there might be more than one different civilization under the earth, depending where they're situated. Um, but
Yeah, I would say these are
anything's
definitely
possible. We
not the
don't we
Watchers
don't.
because these people, these giants have freedom to move, freedom to work, while the Watchers are clearly says they're chained and
Yeah,
they're like they know that their end is coming, so they don't have all these beautiful life of like I'm gonna
yeah, and I
work,
don't
I'm
think.
gonna have, and these people are able to marry and have kids
Yeah,
and extend their lives. So yeah,
and
these
I
are
don't
not the
think that when
Watchers.
they're unbound, that they're going to be like you said, living their best life and having a good old time. I think they're probably going to have some kind of agenda for some reason, that their a mission, something they have to do, or they might be unbound for a purpose. I forget what the Book of Enoch says about that, but no, I don't think they were the Watchers. But again, it's interesting um, to consider, to think about. I remember there's a guy I listen to regularly. It's a cryptid podcast. It's called Sasquatch Chronicles, and the host is Wes Germer. And at the end of every interview he does with anybody who meets a Sasquatch, who has an encounter, he asks them every single time, "What do you think Sasquatch is?" And of course, there's no right or wrong answer. Well, when we're discussing stuff like this, there's no right or wrong answer. We're just hypothesizing this and just brainstorming, trying to exchange ideas. Your guess is as good as mine, really.
Okay, the last quick thing before we switch to Admiral Byrd's short diary, you mentioned in well, actually, you it's mentioned in your book by the author. I forgot his name. George Willis George Emerson. He
George Emerson,
mentions
yeah.
that. Yeah, he mentions that the description that Olaf gives in this world is not the only one. He mentions that there are similarities between the Smokey God account with a Miocene civilization or age, but also that this matches what Josephus, the philosopher and chronicler, he mentions that what is mentioned in the Odyssey or the Iliad, then what is mentioned throughout different myths and legends, throughout the whole planet, including some of the Chinese, civilization legends, or including Hesiod's Theogony, or more recent accounts, and so on and so on. So I just want to ask you. You can take 1 or 10 minutes, doesn't matter, as much as you have. When it comes to these parallels, have you ever studied to see if there's any parallel between what he said and what was written by the ancients, including the Miocene civilization?
Well, it's going to take, you said between 1 and 10 minutes. It's going to take less than 1 minute because no, I have not studied these other accounts. I was even a little bit surprised when I read that there's possibility of parallels between these other accounts, which is another thing that I might go down, uh, look into maybe later, another time. But I have not delved into this stuff myself, so I wouldn't know about those similarities if there are any.